can do that, although the Phils' starting pitching was not very good tonight, but Ken Howe got lots of offensive support. Phillies beat the Cubs, you saw here on Channel 29, 12-4, and Mike Schmidt had another home run. For those pictures, let's go to Chicago and take a look. Ken Howe had 4 of those wild pitches. You're not going to win many games like that. In the first inning, that set up the Cub runners at second and third. Ryan Sandberg up the middle, and it's 2-0 Chicago Cubs against the Phils and Ken Howe. But the Phils come back and aided a little bit by their catcher, a lot by their catcher. Darren Daulton threw 2 runners out tonight. One of those, Ryan Sandberg right there, and Darren Daulton added a little bit of offense tonight for the Phils. Gets the Phils back in the ballgame with the score 2-2. Darren Daulton makes it 3-2 in the 4th. Daulton playing good baseball after a poor spring. Still in the Phillies' 4th inning, Bobby Dernier gets into the act. I think Bobby Dernier's got to play every day somewhere, whether it's in center field or somewhere in the outfield, he's got to play. 5-2, the Phils lead on those 2 runs. Still the 4th, 2-1. Watch that, baby. Schmitty does it again. That's the kind he used to hit. High, towering drives. And it's now 9-2 Phils after that 7-run inning. Ron Jones gets into the act against a left-hander, solo home run, and it's now 10-4 Phillies. Schmitty up again in the 8th. Watch this swing. I'm telling you, he is swinging right now great. But almost, foul by maybe a foot. Schmitty almost had his 2nd home run of the season. He's watching it. He was watching it. Didn't quite get there. Tell me he doesn't want it. He is really swinging well right now and playing well. Here it is, the final out. Watch what happens after the final out and the Phils' 12-4 win. Playing football there for the Phillies. Nick Leva just enjoying himself until Steve Petrosian decides to change that. All right, the Cardinals got good pitching today and defeated the New York Mets for those pictures. Let's go to New York and take a look. Willie McGee, a big day for the St. Louis Cardinals against Bob Ojeda. Had a home run right here, had a single. And the Cardinals go on to win it. Mets a little frustrated against Jose de Leon. That was not a strike, but Ed Montague called it a strike. Kevin Elster didn't like it. Kevin Elster say goodbye. 3-1, St. Louis wins it. All right, let's check the scores in the National League. Phils win. St. Louis beats the Mets. San Francisco a loser. San Diego wins their first game. Pittsburgh over Montreal. Cincinnati beats Oral Hershiser and the Dodgers 4-3. Scored in the first to break his streak. Atlanta leads Houston in the bottom of the 4th. American League, no score, Seattle, Oakland. Boston, Baltimore, Milwaukee, Cleveland postponed rain. New York gets crushed tonight by Minnesota, actually in the 9th inning. Toronto, Kansas City tied in the 8th. California leads Chicago 2-0 in the bottom of the 2nd.
Pitches, but don't worry. It didn't matter as the Phillies rallied to crush the Cubs. Fascinating game. Ken Howe has all sorts of control problems. Ryan Sandberg, after the runners in scoring position, will single in a pair in the 1st. It is 2-0 Cubs right off the bat on Ken Howe. Tied 2-2 in the 4th when Darren Daulton's 2nd RBI of the game breaks the tie and breaks it for good. Because it'll be a 7-run 4th inning for the Phillies. They scored 2 more right there on Bobby D, Bob Dernier's single. Offense cranks up for the 2nd day in a row. Then guess who? Michael Jack Schmidt for the 2nd day in a row crushes one out of Wrigley. This one a 3-run homer. That made it 9-2. In the 5th inning, talk about crushing one, Ron Jones out of the park. It ended 12-4. And after it was over, a shower for the first win by manager Nick Leva. On the scoreboard, the gambling allegations. Then more charges today, charges that he bet $6,000 or more per day during the 1987 season on Major League Baseball games. But then good news tonight. In the game, Todd Benzinger singles in the 1st. Oral Hershiser's scoreless streak of 59 2/3 ends. 4-3 win for the Reds over Oral.
Last season, of course, with 59 consecutive scoreless innings, the Reds countered with Tom Browning, an 18-game winner a year ago. Browning, you may recall, in his last start against the Dodgers last season, pitched a perfect game. So it's on now to Riverfront. And there's Tom Browning. Oral Hershiser attempted to continue that scoreless streak. But in the bottom half of the 1st, Todd Benzinger singles to right field. Barry Larkin scores 1-0 Cincinnati. Bottom of the 3rd. Paul O'Neill continues his early season hot hitting, singling to left. Eric Davis scores from 3rd, 2-1 Reds. Oral's woes continue in the bottom of the 4th. Browning with the bunt. If Orel has a chink in his armor, it's defensively. He throws it away. One of 2 errors on the night. He would leave after 7 innings of work. Things would get worse defensively for the Dodgers. Sabo, routine fly to left field, dropped by Gibson. Reds would add another run later in the game. John Franco on in relief of Browning. Strikes out Gibson to end the game. Reds win it 4-3. Hershiser lost his shutout streak in the very first inning of the new season. The Reds lineup had a lifetime batting average of .323 against Hershiser going into the game. Hershiser suffered his first loss since August 24th of last season.
Phillies have answered some questions.
And Schmidt launches one to deep left. Mike Schmidt put it right on out of here.
While other issues stalk and linger, like the numbness in Ken Howell's middle finger. Yet just as a year ago, the Phils are over 500 after week number 1. Phillies baseball, the Nick Leva era comes to Prism next.
Good about things so far. An 8-3 win to take the series in Chicago today. The Phils led 4-1 in the 7th, and Mike Schmidt rips a shot to the gap in left center. That will score Dickie Thun for a 5-1 lead. Schmidt had 3 hits on the day. The next batter is Chris James. He's the hitting star. Shot into the wind in left center. It's twisting. Will it be fair? Will it be foul? It's over the wall. It's fair. It's a home run. He had 4 RBI on the day. They go on to an 8-3 win, and starter Steve Honoveris, first one out of the dugout, he gets the win. Phillies on top 8-3. They were rained out in New York today with the Cardinals. Elsewhere in baseball, Los Angeles over Cincinnati 4-1. Montreal beating Pittsburgh 3-2. National League, Atlanta over Houston in the 9th. Let's go to the American in Kansas City, and Texas taking care of Detroit, while Seattle is handled by Oakland. The offense, and this time they got great pitching to boot. First inning, they got a big break. Vance Law's error might have been a double play, but it left the bases loaded, nobody out. Phillies scored 4 in the first, 2 on that half-swing single there from Von Hayes. But on the afternoon, the best news, the pitching of this man, newcomer Steve Ontiveros. He allowed only 1 earned run in 8 very strong innings. Mike Schmidt continues to be red hot. He had 3 hits today. This one for an RBI, even though Tommy Herr out trying to score a 2nd run on the play. Chris James had 4 RBIs, including this 2-run homer, and the Phillies romp over the Cubs 8-3 as that one went out at Wrigley. On the scoreboard,
tied at 4 to send it, as Rob's talking about, into extra innings. Now, before that, interesting play, St. Louis up 1-0 on Ozzie Smith single. This in the 2nd inning, it just does get through. But the Phillies go ahead when Darren Dalton belts his 2nd homer of the season. This one with 1 man on, and it's 2-1 Phillies tonight. But after that, St. Louis tied it at 2. Then Tom Berdansky has his first hit of the year, and this one is out of there. 2-run shot. St. Louis up 4-2. This in the 5th inning. But the Phillies keep on moving tonight. They keep on dancing. In the 8th inning, Von Hayes against Ken Daly. 3-2 pitch. Out of here. Game tied at 4. As 23,000 enjoy the show. They go down to the 11th inning. Bottom of the 11th. 2 out. Mike Schmidt at the plate. He doesn't hit a home run, but he does have a double to start it off. This off John Costello. Then Ricky Jordan with 2 out. Schmitty at 2nd. And Ricky, no longer the rookie, I guess. He's now a sophomore, but no sophomore slump for him, as the Phillies win it by the margin of 5-4. Aggressive, come-from-behind baseball as they win the opener. We have more from the vet. We're going to call on Tug McGraw after the home opener as he talks to Von Hayes after the ball game.
If he walks me on the tie and run, we've got a big rally hopefully coming up. So I'm just looking dead fastball. He had an open base, but if he threw me a breaking ball for a strike, I probably would have been sitting in a dugout. But I just said, heck with it. It's the 8th inning. Let's go ahead and let it fly. If he throws me a fastball, hopefully, I'll be on it. So, gosh, it was just a great game for all of us.
Jim Wallach hits a rocket into the left field corner. Hubie Brooks, the former Met, comes wheeling and gets the windmill. Scores all the way from first, and Montreal needed that run. They hold on to win it 3-2. It's the Expos' best start in 5 years. They go for the sweep of the Mets Sunday, sending Denny Martinez against Doc Gooden. Dapper in those Houston stripes as he faces another former American leaguer, Luis Salazar. 8 strikeouts in the night for Clancy. Salazar takes another shot at him with the Astros leading 1-0 top of the 3rd. He gets all of this one, but Ken Caminiti with the diving stop comes up firing. Great defense behind Clancy, and he got some offense. Walt Terrell was making his return to the National League for the Padres. Glenn Davis had already doubled in a run, 2 on, when Terrell gives up this stroke, and Marvell Wynn can't even find. Way over his head, off the wall for Bill Doran. 2-run score, and the Astros make a winner of Jim Clancy in his National League debut by stopping San Diego 6-2. Von Hayes homered off Ken Daly, the first lefty to do that against the Cardinal reliever since Darryl Strawberry hit one off the clock in Busch Stadium. Neither of the two teams tied.
There's been a spine-tingling comeback finalized by Jordan and Schmidt in the home opener. And just a few hours later, a 15-run disaster. It's all been crammed into an exciting first week of Phillies baseball.
Averos had a second straight very effective outing on the mound. He pitched shutout baseball over 7 innings. Phillies were already up 1-0 when Darren Dalton will double the advantage 2-0. But then Steve Ontiveros, with the bases loaded, clears the bases with a 3-run double. 5-0 for the Phillies. His 3-run score. Ontiveros over from the American League where he did not hit due to the DH. He'd score on the Von Hayes sacrifice fly. It ended 6-2. Did Ontiveros see Coach Larry Bowa's stop sign as he came into second base?
I have no idea. I saw nothing. In fact, I missed the second base, so everything was going about 100 miles an hour, and it's just, I didn't even know I cleared the bases. It was like, wow.
Steve Ontiveros on the scoreboard. The Cubs won this afternoon. The Mets continue to have problems. Houston over Cincinnati. Speaking of problems, Jack Morris has had real problems so far this year for the Detroit Tigers. How bad did it get today? Well, Minnesota, against the one-time Detroit ace, posted 14 runs before the game was over. 14-0 Minnesota over Detroit. In the American League, Yankees look like they're losing another one. They're down in the bottom of the 10th, their last chance after tying it earlier in the game. Kansas City beating Baltimore, Oakland, and California early on. But what a night for Steve Ontiveros. What a night for Ron Hextall. A lot of fun, my friend.
Pitching, striking out Raines. And then the Phillies again, the team with the big inning. Dalton singles to make it 2-0, and Chris James scores. Then the bases are loaded, and Steve Ontiveros, who has not gotten a hit as in the majors, gets one down the line, good for 2. Here comes Dalton, here comes Jones, here comes Jeltz. They win by a score of 6-2. Sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. This team's playing very well.
Potential in the 20s, yeah. But we had some defense, like Kevin Elser into the hole, gets a force at second for the out. But it was a rough night. How rough? Well, ask Lenny Dykstra. Lenny comes up in the 5th inning. Lenny, who cut your hair? Lawn boy. That's a quote, by the way. Okay, same at bat. A rope to left. That scores Dave Magadan, and the Mets build a 2-1 lead. But in the 9th inning, Bobby Bonilla singling to center. Jose Lean would later score on a sac fly, ties the game at 3. And then we move the game to the 11th inning in a 3-3 tie. Bonilla comes to the plate with Lean on base. Magadan makes a good play here at third on the pickup. He might have had a play at the plate. He doesn't have a play at first, and the ball really never gets to first, which is the general direction in which it was intended. As the Pirates win their home opener in 11 innings by the count of 4-3. Lean, who scored that winning run, got on base against Randy Myers. He had been 0 for 8 lifetime against Myers, but he gets on as the Pirates end their 4-game losing streak. 16,000 no-shows, with that wind chill down in the 20s, but a hot night as Pittsburgh wins at 4-3. Now the Yankees, just a finger's distance from the panic button, meeting Toronto. Blue Jays here on the 4th. Fred McGriff takes Dave LaPointe high and wide and handsome in history. And Toronto's up 2-0. Now the Yanks, that's right, Dallas, tied up here on the 5th with runners in 1st and 3rd. Gary Wardle, Mike Flanagan. Don Slaught scores from 3rd. We're 2-2. Now the Yanks with a lead here in the 6th. And McGriff dialing 8 again. It's gone. The Yankee lead down to 4-3. Yanks here trailing in the 9th with runners on, and Ricky Henderson check swing through the legs of Manny Lee. Normally the second baseman. Quirk scores. The Blue Jays still have a 1-run lead, but then Steve Saxton, Nelson Liriano, and it's catching. Can't get it out of the glove. Pag scores, and the game is tied. So the Yanks have rallied, but in the 10th, Righetti puts some gas on the fire, and Manny Lee singles to left. Here comes McGriff. Here comes Borders, and there goes the ball game as the Yanks lose again. 5 runs for the Blue Jays in the 5th inning. Take away that man's shoelaces and belt. 11-6 as the Blue Jays win it. The Yankees out hit so far this year, almost 2-1. McGriff with the 2 homers. George Bell had the RBI single and RBI double, a 2-run double, and the Yankees in the first 8 games have been outscored 59-19. Oh, doctor.
3 sellout crowd Nice outfit, Hojo, that they've ever had for opening night. Anyway, cold night warms up in the top of the 5th as Len Dykstra singles off Doug Drabick, the Pittsburgh starter. Dave Magadan in, and it's 2-1 New York. But in the bottom of the 5th, it's 3-1 Mets. Glenn Wilson singles off Bobby Ojeda. That scores Andy Van Slyke, and it's 3-2 in favor of the Mets. Glenn Wilson came up, sack fly, ties it up in the bottom of the 9th. They head to the 11th. Randy Myers pitching, 2 outs. Bobby Bonilla shot to third base. Magadan doesn't go home. He might have been better off. He goes to first, but he's way too late over there. Jose Lean scores the winning run, and the Bucks yank it out of the fire to the adulation of the home crowd. Final count of 4-3. The Bucks ending a 4-game losing streak, but both of these clubs struggling on offense as the season's outset. Of course, they finished 1-2 in the National League East last year. Now to Chicago. Cubs and Cards this afternoon. Top 1, Tom Bernanski. A shot. Domingo Ramos picks up the long hop. Fires to Sandberg for the force out to end the inning. Nothing all. Boy, great defensive play there. Top of the 3rd, 1-0 Cubs. Vince Coleman on first, 1 out. Pedro Guerrero, forget about stealing this one, Vince. Slams a long 2-run homer off Greg Maddux. That baby wound up on Waveland Avenue, I'm sure. 2-1, the Cubbies lead. Now, 6th inning, Cardinals rather. 6th inning, 3-2 Cards when Mark Grace hits a 3-0 pitch off Jose De Leon to the opposite field, his first home run of the year, scoring Andre Dawson. The Cubs led it 4-3, and they go on to win it by a final count of 5-4. Lambs, a 2-run single off Red starter Rick Mailer to give Houston a 4-0 lead. However, Mailer settled down. The Astros did not get another hit until the 8th inning. So it's 4-0 Astros in the 2nd. Eric Davis, remember what he did last night? Parked one? Take a look at that. Instant replay. Davis, Eric the Red, turns on one. His 2nd tater in 2 days. That's got to give Pete Rose something to smile about in these besieged times for him. 4-1 Astros. Big play here. 7th inning, 4-3 Stros. Reds rally to pull within 1 run. Pinch hitter Ken Griffey lies to Caminiti, who fires to first, doubling off Ron Oster for 2 outs. And the final count is 5-3. That one saved a big, big run.
Where the Phillies again had the long ball working against Kevin Gross, coming back to the vet for the first time as a Montreal Expo. Strikes out Mike Schmidt. What a way to close out inning number 1, but Schmidt will get his revenge. First, Darren Dalton goes, well, it's a pitch up and away that he pulls over the 371 sign deep. Gives Philadelphia a 2-0 lead in the bottom of the 2nd. Move to the 3rd inning, the red-hot Von Hayes, also a pitch out over the plate, a cut fastball. Long drive right to the Expos logo. It's 3-0 Philadelphia. The home runs just keep on coming for Philadelphia. Mike Schmidt breaks a mini slump at 0 for 10 with this one. Also out over the plate, gets the arms extended, gone. Philadelphia on top 4-0. Then the only real line drive shot of the night, as now we can pick which kind of home runs we like the best. Ronnie Jones turns the top hand over, pronates that one on into the bullpen. 5-0 Philadelphia. Ron Jones hits home run number 2. Montreal would get one back from Andres Galarraga. That pitch was outside on the outside edge, and he turns and pulls it way on up into the seats for a 5-1 Phillies lead. Bottom of the 5th, though, the Phils will get that run back. Von Hayes triples. Then Mike Schmidt flares one to center field. Nixon can't come up with it. Kind of kicks it. Schmidt winds up on second with a double as Hayes comes in and scores at 6-1. And Kevin Gross would take the rest of the night off. Not a good performance for Kevin. Top of the 7th, though, Timmy Raines will single off Mike Maddux. Lays off right up the middle, a line drive shot. Nelson Sanavina comes in to score. It is 6-3. And then the scary moment. The bases are loaded, 6-3. Andres Galarraga is at bat. Swing and a miss, struck him out. That's the way the 7th inning ended. Another scary moment. This one, 2 on, 1 out. Schmidt to her. Look how long this thing takes before Nelson Sanavina is rung up. And then Steve Bedrosian comes in and closes it out with the fly ball to center field. Philadelphia, a winner again tonight, tied for first place. They win it tonight for Nick Leyva by a final score of 6-3. The Phils have an off day tomorrow. Then those red-hot Chicago Cubs come into town for a weekend set. We'll have the Saturday night contest live here on Prism at 7 o'clock. And then 3 pitches later, David Clark gets a hanger from Boyd and rides it right on down the foul line. Home run. It's a 5-4 lead, enough for Oil Can Boyd. Top of the 8th, bases loaded for Brooke Jacoby. Doesn't try to do too much with it. Lines it over the drawn-in infield to score a couple of runs. Cleveland takes a 9-4 lead at that point. Now, bottom of the 8th, bases are loaded. 2 outs. Keith Atherton strikes out Nick Esaski, the one-time Cincinnati Red, to maintain the 9-4 lead. Top of the 9th, why not Corey Snyder? A career-high 6 RBIs on the day. 4 for 4 with 4 run scores. That one scores Joe Carter. Final score, 10-4 as the Cleveland Indians win. New York trying to break the losing streak. They lead at Milwaukee. Nolan Ryan had 7 no-hit innings, a Texas record 15 strikeouts, a one-hitter for 8 innings. Texas wins. Baltimore leads Kansas City. Oakland and California just underway. Chicago, Seattle just underway. And yes, postponed by snow in Detroit.
Afternoon baseball on a couple of fronts today. Former Philly Bob Walk pitching for the Pirates against the Cards, and he picked off Ozzie Smith. Walk, as Whitey Herzog looked on, would also help his own cause at the plate. And the Pirates went on to win today over St. Louis. Bob Walk got a triple right there. They beat the Cards 7-5.
2 years and 5 days ago, Mike hit number 500. Today, it was number 547. Phillies at one point were up 4-0 in the ball game. But then Bobby Bonilla gets a break when Ricky Jordan can't handle it. Game tied at 4. Then a real big mistake to Big Bonilla.
Deep to right field. Out of here, home run, Bobby Bonilla, and the Pirates have taken a 6-4 lead here in the bottom of the 8th.
That's the second time this week that Steve Bedrosian's given up the game-losing homer. Pittsburgh gets a defensive gem by Ray Quinones, and they win it 6-4. On the scoreboard, Mets win 4-2. Montreal wins 9-3. The Braves pound the Padres. In the American League, Nolan Ryan said he wanted it very badly. His curveball was superb. He no-hit Toronto through 8 full innings. Look at the curve. He was trying for his 6th career no-hitter. This at age 42. He gets 1 out in the 9th, but then gives up the triple, ends up with a one-hitter as Texas wins at 4-1. On the scoreboard, great pitching elsewhere. KC blank Boston. Yankees win 5-0, and Baltimore's Bob Milacki 3-hit the Twins.
Nothing, and Andre Dawson connects off Ron Darling, career home run number 300. 2-0 Chicago. With some controversy in the bottom half of the 7th, bases loaded, 2 out. Mookie Wilson, ground ball to second base. Interference? No. Run scores. Don Zimmer can't convince Terry Tata otherwise. Take a look at the replay. Tata's call was correct. No contact. 2-1 heading into the 8th. When Kevin McReynolds faces former Met Calvin Schiraldi and takes him downtown. Mets lead 3-2. They go on to win it 4-2. And hasn't Gary Carter been on a roll lately? Aguilera wins his first. Schiraldi lost his first. The Expos looking to escape St. Louis with at least 1 win this weekend. It wasn't going to happen. Spike Owen, the hitting hero this day, with the RBI single, scoring Dave Martinez. Montreal leads 3-1. Now to the 7th inning. Expos up 6-2. Chris Carpenter has Otis Nixon picked off. Well, sorta he does. Run scores. Expos win 9-3. Spike Owens with 3 hits and 3 RBIs on the day. Tim Raines also had 3 hits. Hubie Brooks smacked his 2nd home run of the season. Bryn Smith won his 2nd. Chris Carpenter lost his 1st. Pirates beat the Phils 6-4. Bobby Bonilla's 2-run home run in the 8th, his first of the season, won it for the Bucks. Logan Easley won his first game in 2 years. Mike Schmidt hammered home run number 547 of his brilliant career.
Over Cincinnati, and Danny Jackson, who had their number last year. Leading 2-0 in the 4th, Juan Samuel with an RBI. Phils go up 3-0. Mike Schmidt will get his 3rd hit of the afternoon, and 2 RBI, 4-0 lead Philadelphia. Schmidt's 1,585th RBI, 17th place all time. And then, this again all with 2 outs, Chris James' 2nd career grand slam, a 6-run 4th, and an 8-zip washout, shortened to 5 innings due to 4 hours of rain delay. Okay, Philadelphia wins. New York winning in the 7th inning as we change scoreboards here. Let's play rock and roll.
While the Phillies poured it on the Reds, Juan Samuel will single with the bases loaded. He goes the opposite way. 3-0 Phillies at that time. Then Mike Schmidt at the plate with the bases loaded, and he'll do the exact same thing, the opposite way. It is 4-0. Bases loaded still. Chris James does them all better. He was 1 for 13 against Danny Jackson last year. Well, he makes up for that. He hit a grand slam. Phillies win at 8-0 in a game halted by rain in the 5th, but it does count. 8-0 win. Mike Maddox a 2-hit shutout. Tomorrow the Phillies host Cincinnati starting at 1:30 if it doesn't rain. On the scoreboard, Mets lead